A number of years ago, the state of Ohio ran a Civilian Conservation Corps program, which, as state budgets got tighter, they were unable to continue. The local area inside those counties, the WSOS counties, kept asking, who can pick this up and do it? And WSOS has a reputation for being able, or at least trying, to do that type of thing. So we ended up running a CCC camp on property owned by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources with some support from the state, but at much less than they had been paying to do it themselves. And that was kind of our introduction into green, because those of you who are familiar with the Civilian Conservation Corps in FDR's day, it was the preservation of farmland or parkland and those types of things, and that's what those young adults were involved in. Additionally, that camp became a site for a 3-county recycling operation that is basically run by a public entity, but was staffed in large part by the young people who were in the CCC program. So, because even though it's very rural, there are manufacturers, and there's a good bit of recycling going on. We were able to work with companies to handle their recycling. Part of the thing that came out also from the history of the Department of Natural Resources is that they had a sign-making shop, a DNR sign-making shop was located at this camp. And as it converted itself, when we took over, they make signs with recycled plastic, and we basically sell them to units of government, to park districts or to cities, things like that. We've also invested in the computer-controlled machinery so that we can sell in the general public market, because we couldn't use DNR state machines to sell in the general public market. So that was our entry, and we ended up with this non-residential, because we discovered how much it costs to run a residential CCC program. A non-residential CCC program where kids basically made a commitment. Part of what we did with them was to get them certificates, to get them certificated in certain skills, and also then to develop when you're in the Corps, you get a stipend, you get a living stipend, and you get health insurance. So they could survive, they were learning skills, they were getting some certificates related to environmentally sound practices. And because of our connections with people, we got also education awards. If you serve out the term of your contract, what you've committed to, you get an education award, which could be as much as 1 year of tuition at the local community college.
Well, I was working in the solar industry and started it as a volunteer, and in Richmond, the joke was that the only time we were in the news was if something was burning or bleeding. So it was either the refinery had a flare-up or someone was shot. And so I was like, I want to create some good news in Richmond. And so I started Solar Richmond, and we're going to train these guys to do solar installations and create some good news in Richmond. I hired 6 young people to help me put together a video. And I went out, I asked them, can you guys go onto YouTube and find some of those violence that's happening here in Richmond on the news, and we're going to create a video that shows sort of the typical news in Richmond and this good news in Richmond. And I came back and asked the girls to show me the videos, and we sat down and they started showing them. And the first one that came up, one of the young girls said, there was a young boy, 14-year-old, had been shot. And one of the girls said, oh, that's my cousin. And then, as we watched the rest of the news clip, the other young girl in the room said, oh, it was my godbrother who shot him. And that was kind of my first foray into what's really happening in Richmond. And so we ended up, we had a big event and took lots of pictures, and did an installation on a low-income homeowner's house in Richmond, and ABC, NBC, CBS. We were in USA Today and selected as best green jobs practices around the country. And so we created a lot of good news in Richmond. The very first, this big event that we did where we installed on a system, one of the employers came out and he started talking about how they were going to be hiring hundreds of people over time, and basically ended up out of this first training not hiring anyone. And so we started a staffing agency so that we could make it super easy for employers to be able to bring on our graduates. And so one of the things we wanted to do is get consumers to create a demand for our graduates.
With our Youth Build program, which is a program primarily working with youth 17 to 24 who've dropped out of school, who might have some interaction with the criminal justice system. And the whole goal was to train them in the constructions trade. They get a pre-apprenticeship certification, and we also have a charter school where they earn a high school diploma. So given the fact that the construction industry took a dive, that it made no sense for us to continue to train our young people into an industry that wasn't going to offer them an occupation. So around the same time, this whole idea about green jobs, I mean, we're right near Richmond, Oakland, Van Jones, this whole movement around green jobs and green collar jobs really took off. And so we said, well, you know, this is an opportunity for us to get into the green jobs. But one of the things that we really didn't realize is sort of what role or what component or what aspects of green jobs that we want to participate in, given the kind of population that we serve and the community in which we were in. So we applied for a grant, a high growth grant in energy, and we got a grant to do solar training. And part of that grant was to develop some curriculum for our students and to help them do some job training in the area of solar. Before I continue, let me preface my statements by saying that I think a lot of what we've gone through over the past 2 years is really going to be very helpful to any future organization wanting to get into the green jobs, because we sort of learned the hard way. And I won't say that we had failures, we really had some learning opportunities for how we're going to strengthen our programs. And so we got our grant, you know, and we started to look around at what kind of training is available, and a lot of the training was pretty sophisticated, pretty advanced, and we went and got some curriculum from individuals, and we hired a trainer. But it was too advanced for our students. Our students, they just weren't getting it. In fact, when they took a test, they all failed. And you know, we quickly realized that, you know, we've got to go back and focus on the basics. We've got to increase the math competency, the reading comprehension of our youth. So that really helped us to really identify, well, when we talk about the, you know, solar training, solar installation, what role do we want to play? And we quickly realized that we've got to play an entry-level role. You know, this is the population that we're working with, so we've got to make sure that they have a sort of a pre-solar training curriculum. We really are now building a relationship with the businesses that could hire a lot of our students. Initially, when we first went in, we said, oh, we're going to train students, and the feedback was, look, don't do us any favors. We just want people that have a clean record, that, you know, aren't going to goof around on the roof, that aren't doing drugs, that look presentable, that aren't going to scare the homeowners. And we will train them in the way that we want to train them. And so we're like scratching our heads, but we got, you know, funding to train, and so it's a very it was a very tough lesson that we had to learn. And so we had to really identify, well, what is it that we're good at? And what role do we want to play? And so our role is now sort of focusing on that soft skill development and making sure that our youth have the skills that, you know, that they're not going to goof around on the roof, or but that they really understand what is involved on the job site. So we've done a lot of job shadowing with some of our business contractors, We've done a lot of hands-on building of different solar-related things. You know, for example, during the earthquake in Haiti, our students created solar suitcases that we shipped down there for doctors to charge their cell phones and to use the LED lights, you know, in the dark. So that was one of the things that we've done. We're doing a lot more education in the community about solar, so we're building right now 2 large trailers that we will, you know, it'll have, it's both advertising too, but we'll be able to go to like parks and fairs and provide energy for, you know, PA system or for some other other thing that we need to provide, you know, electricity for. But the jobs, you know, I don't want to give you the impression that, you know, green jobs is where you need to focus your efforts. I think that it's still pretty early on. I think there's a role that we can play, but I think we need to be very clear about what is our competency. And in the range of green jobs, you've got training, you've got placement, then you've got advanced careers. Where do you fit in? And you can't do everything, right? So we've had to learn that we've got to really narrow down our focus and sort of overlay green jobs to what we already do.
And you all say green, you mean something, and I think you share it, but for us, we have done training of water and wastewater operators. Not that we have the curriculum. What we do is what a community action agency normally does with these youth, which is to be the advocate for them and to bring them into the training. And then hire people who do water wastewater certification training. And we've had a modicum of success, tens and tens, of training disengaged young people and bringing them into the fold and getting them their water operator certificate, the basic one in Ohio, which makes them very much employable. If they want to live in a rural area, a small town that has a water wastewater system, they can stay there. If they want to go to Cleveland and make $65,000 a year, they can do that. And for us, that's part of the green. And we got into it because we do water and wastewater, but you can get into it just being a CAP agency that works with these disengaged youth who need a job. And we'll help you find the people who do the teaching, the classes about passing the test.
It's really about improving the lives of the people that we serve, right? It doesn't matter what activity you're doing. Your investment into our organization ultimately leads to an improved quality of life for the very people that live here, your neighbor, member of your community. And I think if we tie it back to our core mission, which is really to help people achieve economic self-sufficiency, then it's an easy sell.